everybody, and welcome back to Conversations or Convos with Whitney Charmaine. I am super, super excited to have this phenomenal woman next to me. She is a great friend, licensed therapist, Black-owned business owner, fashionista. She's all the things, y'all. So I'm super, super excited to be able to talk about mental health with her today and walk through all the things. So please, please welcome Whitney Dodds.
Hi, everyone.
Hi! You're too quiet for me. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and just dive right into it. I'm going to go through the questions, and then, of course, like I always tell everybody, we're just going to flow and vibe with what we have.
Sure thing.
Cool. All right, so first thing, we're talking about mental health in the Black community. So the first question I have for you, why do you believe the stigma of either receiving or getting, I don't know what the proper term is, mental health or therapy or going to a therapist, why is that still a stigma, do you think?
And that is not specified to, you're saying in the Black community itself.
Yes.
So I often try to remove the word stigma when as it pertains to just the Black community.
Okay.
Because stigma says that we created this out of kind of like nowhere. Whereas the reasons why Black and brown people are apprehensive to receive treatment is systems of oppression and lack of access and capitalism and all the isms you can muster up, racism, and so these are all the different ways that have put a barrier between the access, and so when you think of the word, what's the word you just gave me? Stigma. Okay. You're thinking, okay, like stigma is like, okay, well, you're gonna look crazy. That's like, okay, while there's some basis behind it, it's really just this idea. But when you're talking about the Black community, it's safety.
Okay.
It's, can I trust you to not use everything against me culturally, or do you even know, like, do you have cultural competency to even help me to do this thing? And so with that being said, and psychology founded by white men who probably had slaves, like
real, all the things.
We got
yeah.
You have to think of stuff
real.
like that.
I didn't think about that.
It wasn't made for us, and so for us to be like, to fit into this mold all of a sudden, when still never acknowledging. I think it was the APA, so American Psychology Association, literally just had a Black president.
Wow.
And then he finally made the statement that said, everything we have done this far is and has been founded on racism. Because as long as we continue to carry these different theories, these different techniques, this anything founded off of racist white people, it doesn't matter. And so if that makes sense is why we're still not there.
Yeah.
But I think 2020 was an amazing shift in that way to remove some of those barriers, mental barriers, not necessarily access, but just the mental barriers where people started to reach out and actually say, okay, something's got to give. We're going to take you up on this. And I started to see an influx of Black people come. However, then they started knocking, right? And then it was the actual barriers of, can you get therapy?
Yeah.
Does your life actually allow you to be consistent with therapy, financially access? So now we're talking about that. And then we all want that safety that's provided in the sessions. So we want representation when we're going.
For sure.
We want that safety. And then we think about more barriers and more accesses in the sense that now we don't have enough Black and brown clinicians to see all the people. Why is that? Now we're kicking down another brick door of how many people actually go to school versus how many
layers.
And so, and then how many more people actually go out to get licensed, and where are all the people who graduate with psychology degrees at? Oh, they're in these big old institutions being buried, never even lifted up to get licensure. When I talk, the big word is oppression. In systems.
I would never thought about it like that. It's so crazy because it was pandemic, right? And I was just like, actually, it was a little bit before pandemic. I lost my grandfather, relationship issues. And there's things I didn't have the capacity for. Like, you know, I love the Lord, and I was praying. I was like, I need something additional. Like, we got to have something. And so it took a minute. Like, I was on Google trying to find, you know, I've always wanted a Black therapist. If I ever was going to go to a counselor, just like you said, representation. Yeah. Somebody didn't have to explain like the colloquialisms, all these other things too. Anything I said, I wanted her to just kind of get it. Yeah. Definitely wanted a female. It took a minute. Yep. It took a minute to find just this person. And then when I start telling like just, you know, family and just kind of telling people, well, yeah, I'm going to therapy, whatever. It's just still like, oh, are you okay? What's wrong? Or something like, okay, well, I'm okay, but I'm not okay. So I kind of need to get some things handled and kind of walk through some processes. There's some traits that I'm seeing that I kind of want to walk through and, you know, get better in. And it was still that stigma. It was still that look like, oh, well, I don't know if I would do that. Or I'm like, well, I don't know what it is, that barrier.
I don't know that I asked you.
Yeah. Well, that part. Okay. Yes. That's the number thing. But it's also like when you're saying oppression, I didn't think about all the things. And people really, it's so funny. Like people will talk about a lot of stuff when it comes like the digging deep into like their emotions or backgrounds or things. The safe space is hard for them to walk into. They don't see it. Yeah.
I think about why I created Wellness for the Culture. It was because I couldn't see myself in a lot of different spaces, even though I had gotten the degrees. Yeah. It was like, okay, well, I got here and I'm in this institution or this organization and I am like, something still is off. And I don't understand what it is. And I didn't have a lot of the wording and the naming for my experiences until I left there. And then I started working with other, you know, Black people and brown people and really like on the soapbox. So I consider myself a social justice counselor.
Okay. What does that mean?
I'll tell you the beautiful story is I was in my last year of undergrad psychology degree. Now I had tried to pick where I was going to go with this psychology degree. I wanted to be like D.B. Wong from Law and Order for a little bit. I was going to go to forensics. And then I was like, I can't do that. Make me crazy trying to figure out why criminal's criminal. That's a whole thing. I'm all set. Yeah. And then so I had said, well, I have this advocacy bone. Like I want people, like I care about people's rights. I care about like just equity. And before we learned that beautiful word, it was equality, right? Like it doesn't make sense, and y'all, well, like we got to stop this. And so I learned isms and all that stuff. So I actually went to a Women in Policy and Politics program.
Interesting.
Woo, when I got into the minutia of all that stuff, I was like, oof, ciao, bye. No. First of all, I don't like being told no. And so, like, I'm going to sit here and draft up all these things and get it to your doorstep, and you going to tell me, oh, no. Yeah. And so, also, I realized how much I love the people who know how to lobby and write and call, and I think everybody has their spaces, right?
Right. That's real.
But I had then said, okay, well, I guess it's back to grad school for psychology. I still have this passion to help people, but I realized that at that macro level, it wasn't it. So I went back down to micro. I then did that, and then I got into, I don't know, maybe my second year, and then I took a African American, or I think it was called Social Justice, and then I found this book, and it was called Social Justice Counseling, and I was like, you can do both. And then we like the word diversity, equity, inclusion, and then so I married it with psychology and how can I incorporate this social justice piece to it and make this equity. And then as I continued to flow, the experience started naming themselves, and it just started going. And I'm like, now this is it. Like I don't see one without the other.
That's phenomenal. Nice.
Did I say all of it right?
Yeah, you did. Great. All the things. You got a head on some other stuff too, so I'm good with it. Like, yes. Perfect. Let me see. So we talked about the stigma, talked about, the reasons why. Something I'm interested to get your perspective on, because you hear these words all the time, especially on social media.
Love the trigger words.
Right? And so I'm like, I kind of want to get a professional's perspective on trauma. So what does trauma mean? How do we identify it? When do we classify something as trauma or traumatic? Because that word just flows, or, oh, that's traumatic, oh, that's whatever. And sometimes it's like, that's just an experience, right? But then it's like, okay, is it subjective to, like, the person experience? Just what is it? How do we identify it? Whatever your expert opinion is on that.
Yeah. Expert. That's a word.
You are an expert.
I think when you become an expert, then you stop wanting to learn and you stop being curious about things. And so I have a battle.
So I won't use it anymore. Got it. Taking it off the table.
I love what I do, and I'm knowledgeable about it, and I make sure that I continue to educate myself.
So you're very knowledgeable on the subject. We're going to use that. I'm going to reframe it.
I be trying. Okay. So trauma. Trauma is, I believe, predicated on the individual's experience.
Okay.
On their resiliency, like their ability to cope, what tools they have, what access they have. Now think about all the different things. Somebody could experience the same experience. Two people can experience the same thing, and then depending on what happens after could make that event traumatic or not traumatic, depending on their background,
right?
What has already happened and what has influenced them, how they think about something, can then that either makes that situation traumatic.
Okay.
So the idea that like you can say this is traumatic and this is not traumatic, somebody might not see it the same way.
Right. That's real.
I have been hit by a car. Someone would like, I'm never ever walking across the street or on sidewalks again.
Right.
And I'd be like, that's fair.
Yeah.
Now me, I'm okay. Maybe for a couple of weeks after, but I think it was the coping. What access did I get? Okay, now I'm going to switch gears. So this is simple, but I think when it comes to like emotional traumas and things like that, it's the validation after.
Okay, what does that mean?
Validation, meaning I see you. I see your pain.
Okay.
You are valid. I'm giving you this space to have this experience.
Okay.
That is the really big, and then what I can do in that moment. Is it the time off? Is it the support? Is it love? Is it rallying around someone? That ultimately, what you do after the experience will make it either traumatic or not traumatic for you, right?
And versus like probably help, and you can let me know, probably help with the healing process too.
Right.
Whether you heal from that traumatic experience or it stays with you and it's just buried.
Exactly. So that's literally the same, right? What it's that healing, it's the time, it's what happens. Did you deal with it? Did you not deal with it? Were you validated? Even if it was by yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Not being believed. That doesn't make for a good traumatic experience.
Right. That is traumatic.
Ongoing trauma, learning certain ways, your body's response to something, because ultimately trauma lives in the body. And so what happens is something will happen to you. Your body will remember a feeling, and then your brain tries to rationalize it.
Yeah.
And what it will then try to do is say, when's the last time we felt like this? Oh no, that thing that happened to us.
Yeah.
It's happening again. And you have to ultimately be like, no, we're not there. But yes, I recognize. And then that's where we make decisions. And that's why the therapist is so important, because we can recognize patterns when you're showing up like that. And hey, did anything ever happen? Because every time I say this, or every time we get around this situation, and then somebody goes, oh.
Yeah. That's wild. Like your body can have, I don't think people really identify or think about that. Like your body can have the response to that too.
Yeah. It's your body first and then your brain trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So how would you, I guess for me, like since I've been in therapy, right? It's great for me. I'm enjoying the process. It's tough sometimes, especially when we're trying to work through things. Yeah. But it also makes it difficult for when I'm around people either that I'm close to or just people in passing, and I start talking to them and I'm like, oh, you really need to work through that, right? How do you, and I don't know if there's a way to do that, but like how do you encourage someone to maybe seek counseling without letting them feel like, okay, they're not good enough, or like they can't, all those things? Because some people, I've mentioned that to somebody and they were just like, oh, you don't think I can figure this out, or oh, you think I'm crazy, or I was like, no, I feel there's a part that maybe you're hurting and Brittany can only give you so much, right? I'm a good friend. I do the best I can. I can slide you a prayer. Like that's all I got. But I feel like we have tools and resources. So how do you share those resources with somebody without offending them the best way possible, would you say? Is there a way? Again, it's about what somebody already believes. I think that relationship is very important. Okay. Validation comes next.
and maybe some transparency on your behalf, because people just want to relate.
True.
Okay. And so I'm not going to just be like, ooh, girl, you need therapy.
Right. Because that's terrible.
Wow.
Trash. Just don't. Let's not do that. Because I don't want to talk to you.
First of all, right. You're judgy.
Right. You're doing a lot.
Right. Okay. So it's more like, I've heard enough. I spent enough time with you to notice that this could be beneficial to you.
Right.
I can hear you. Hey, here's what's working for me. Here's
Sharing my
how
experience.
I take it. Here's what, like, my therapist is you. And this time in therapy, like, this is what, and that's what I'll just continue to give. When I started Wellness for the Culture, I started with a blog.
Okay.
Only sharing my experiences first.
Yeah.
Through that blog, I continued being transparent with people, because us, we need to know first. We need to trust first. We need to get it first. And then the other part is just validating. I hear you. Like, I get it. I can see how so many years of thinking one thing about yourself and like feeling like you're going to be weaker for it. You're going to be judged for it. You're going to be less than for it. You can. But another thing with Black people is we don't have to do it the hard way.
Okay, what does that mean?
We're taught that everything we have to fight for.
Right.
We have to work twice as hard for. We gotta do it ourselves because we gotta grind.
Come with the A game all the time.
It's just like,
no break. We're on all the time.
Understand this. The harder you are, and all the diversity that comes your way, and the resiliency in the Black community, no, I don't want to be resilient anymore. I want help. I don't want to. I don't want to fight my way through life, because here's the thing. That puts a lot of stress on your body, and you look at the numbers. High cholesterol, blood pressure, because all we do is rack our brains and fight adversity all the time. No, I'm going on somebody's couch. You help me figure this out. Because if I don't have to make some of the same decisions and choices, and I can pivot and I can do things differently and provide, I'm going to do that. But we don't also know that we can make those decisions. That's very important. We don't know that that's a choice until sometimes somebody lays it out there for us. So yeah.
Wow, that's so meaty. Like,
there's a lot.
It is. It's good though. Like, I'm just processing everything. Yeah, that's great. That's great information. That's really good. That's really good insight, because I've been thinking about just certain people that I know, like they would benefit from having somebody they can just go sit on the couch with. Like, that would be really good.
Can I say this part too? Sometimes you have to go the extra step with them. A lot of people come to me and also ask for, can you help me find someone? Is there someone you trust? Right? Just being like, you need a therapist.
And just let it go.
And just being like, no, if you are concerned, if you really want and think that this could be helpful, go on the websites with them, right? Therapy for Black Girls, Psychology Today, go do all the things, therapists near me, whatever. And sit with them. I'm happy to help you go through it at the same time.
Right.
Now, there are some times where I'd be like, you got the same Google that I got.
But some people you got to do the extra.
But if I'm the one who's suggesting it,
then it's
I better be the one. I'd be ready to journey it. Okay. So like that's just I think a lot of people stop right there, and it's just like, when you want to help someone, you can't just tell them what they need. Right. And that's a lot of people, because now I'm apprehensive. Now I'm defensive. Now I'm gonna try to do this by myself because no.
Yeah. And that's a lot of stuff too, whether that's budgeting, whether that's whatever the case is, having somebody to kind of give you those resources, sit with you, work with you. It's just, mental health is so sensitive. Like, it's becoming, sometimes I feel like it's, for a moment, I don't know if it's still here now, but for a moment in time, it felt like it was a fad kind of thing. I don't know if you felt that way. Like, it was just such like, oh, mental health. And it was like, it wasn't necessarily the healing part. It was just like, oh, I'm going to a therapist, or, oh, here's you know what I'm saying? Like,
it still is.
Is it?
I hated the word self-care for so
long. That's a trigger word for me, honestly.
Shoot, I hate the word triggered. Because these are the words that, like, people, and oh gosh, now I hate boundaries.
Boundaries has been run out for a while.
You know.
We're like overusing using the word, and then, but that's why I asked you to explain trauma.
Because and for all those words, it's like these people that are actually going and they're working and they're doing the work, they come out with the words, and then they start sharing their experience, and then people just latch on to the experience without the background and how to actually set a boundary. That part. And like you can't just be building walls all over the place. There's no basis for a wall here. Actually, your boundary is just a wall for you not to grow, and so probably you should have this hard conversation, not a boundary. And so, but you don't have a therapist, so how would you know that you need to be challenged instead of have a boundary? So that one was for free.
I cannot.
Sorry if you were my client.
It's fine. And that's it. But that's the truth, though.
And so that's those are the things. Those words are like out there, and people are like, yes. I saw something one time, and I was just like, no, that's not a boundary. That's passive aggressive.
And everybody's a therapist. Everybody's giving the advice. And I'm like, y'all literally listening to these people that don't have it together themselves. It's just a lot. It's a lot of, some people are positive and that's great. But one of the things that I've seen them and actually being in the experience, I'm like, y'all are really giving out some bad stuff, bad advice, bad insight, terminologies going all over the place. I'm like, okay.
Or the healing, or I have this person who like hates professional mental health and refuses because she had terrible experiences in the past. I understand. I validate said experience, but I understand where she's coming from. I understand her angle. And I also think that sometimes you have to be very careful how you talk about your experience.
True. It's not everybody's.
It's not everyone's experience. And what somebody might need, you don't get to determine because of your experience. I don't tell everybody they need therapy because I needed it. I say, hey, I remember when I was 12 and not diagnosed and probably should have, and if I would have gotten therapy, life would have probably been a lot different. And so I'm looking out for anybody who might not see that they might need it. But all in all, you get your say at how you heal and what works for you. And that's the other part about, therapy traditionally, and that stigma of why Black and brown people is because we would go into there and they would give us these techniques that worked for them in their capacity and what they do in their lifestyles, and forgetting that they're sending us back into trauma every day. And then telling us we're broken and we don't want to heal. It won't work because we won't show up. It won't work because we don't. Okay, first of all, Mr. DCF man, I said I need housing, not a therapist.
Right. There's a difference. That's a massive difference.
First of all, you just took my kids away, right? Because I said I need,
That's wild.
That's the thing. That's where institutions and organizational nonsense come together, and they have rapport with. Why does DCF have rapport with a mental health institution? Why is it mandatory?
Right.
Also,
who put that there?
So now, that's a whole nother segment.
Interesting. No, that's good. That's a good piece. So you've already mentioned it, but I want to dive into it. Let's talk about wellness for the culture. All the things. Yes, you mentioned how you kind of got started. The things you went through, what you saw, you wanted to be, what you said, an activist or activist?
I wanted to be all the things. I wanted a whole soapbox and a platform.
Everything.
Okay?
Got it. Yes. So we talked about that. If you want to elaborate on that, you can. But definitely talk about wellness for the culture, who you serve, and then we can talk about permission granted and all that.
So I am going to start with a story I tell everyone. Okay. It's like my elevator pitch.
Okay.
So here's how remember I told you I had a lot of experiences that I didn't know how to name. Like I didn't know yet, and now I'm like,
yeah,
that was raggedy. And if I was who I was now, somebody would have been mopped.
Yeah.
In the most professional way.
I'm about to say in more than one way, probably.
No, I'm not about that life anymore.
Okay.
Gosh. Okay. So imagine this. You graduate with a master's degree. I get the job. You land the job fast. community mental health. Out in the community, meaning I actually get to go to these people's house. I understand what access looks like, because now I can remove the barrier of transportation with you or sitters or anything like that. So I'm fully in agreement with this. My supervisor accompanies me the first day to help me understand how, and so she pulls out the form. Now remember, I think what's just helpful is I've given you all of the so you can hear and tinker. Okay. She pulls out the thing. We knock on the door. Okay. The woman goes, "Who is it?" I'm chuckle. Oh, did I mention we're in the hood? We're in the projects.
I figured that when you said the community, but I was like, I know where we at.
We're in projects. Yeah. I'm excited because I'm like, I get to do it for the people. I get to come back and do it, Okay. And so my colleague is not with it. So we knock on the door. Who is it? I chuckle because don't nobody be knocking on nobody's door. Nope.
We know who's supposed to be at the house. Right?
And then you see her do one of these.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny. Because it's real.
I am delighted inside, okay? I am like, this is what I waited my whole life for, okay? Because who's knocking on my door? Right. Like, did you call first? Right. And then we're like, where such and such is so from such and such so. She goes, who?
Oh, man. Okay.
Now, you're supposed to have a file. You're supposed to know where you're going. You're supposed to know why they set an appointment. She goes, tries to look for the thing. She was, I think DCF sent us.
Oh, man. They're not going to, oops.
Okay. So now I'm frustrated because I just, you think. Now, I'm not saying she had any bias, race, nothing. It could just be her education. Yeah. Right? She don't know what she don't know. So now the woman opens the door.
Oh, man.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, think of all the barriers that I've already talked to you about. Now we just added 2 more. Because she's not willingly opening her door for treatment. She's opening her door out of fear.
Yeah.
And why is DCF here?
Right.
What? And so she's stumbling and she lets us in. And I'm just sitting here like, this is not it. This is not how I wanted to do this.
Right. Because you're going, the setup is going,
Yeah. And now she's like.
Her mind is not, Yeah.
What happened? Who called on me? Right. What did I do? Right. And it's not it. So we get in there. She opens the thing. Finally, she's like, I don't even understand. And she's like, well, you set up the appointment. This, that, and third. She was like, I think it was the doctor's. And then she opens up the thing. She was like, yes, actually, it was a referral from the doctor's office. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm sitting here because at this point, this is your appointment. Because I'm not talking anymore. This is your appointment. This is what you doing. You're not finna have me out here in these streets looking crazy.
Wow.
Because I probably got to see her at the grocery store later.
No, but for real. Right.
Like, what you doing?
Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, and she's like, I'm just like, oh no. She was like, oh, it's because you requested medication for your daughter. She was like, I never given her those pills. I never even took her. I just needed her to. And I was just like, look.
Burning and crashing.
Look, it's all good. It's all good. You don't need to have the services. You don't want the services. It was a referral. If you're declined it, that's perfectly fine. We'll go. And she's over there sweating bullets, looking like a red something. And then I'm just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so I was in community mental health for, I want to say you have to be there for 3 years.
Wow, I know you saw
So, and not just in that way. I saw it in my way, like in my own institution of the way they have us do these hours, made for children who have support. I mean, when I say children, I mean 23, 24-year-old who still live with their parents. And we all know who's privileged enough to be able to do that still, and don't maybe have kids. Right. And so the way you have to work is to work about or schedule about 35 hours to maybe get 25 of them or 26 of them. And then the paperwork for anyone on your caseload. Now, mind you, you just scheduled 35.
Yeah.
Which means maybe 50 on your caseload.
Nope.
Yeah, and so that is who can do that?
Nobody.
Who was successful?
Successfully? I'm about to say no. Nobody.
Mentally successful? No one. who was financially successful at it, the person, like I said, who still lived at home, who still had financial stability in certain ways and didn't have maybe 2 kids I had at that point, and needed to support my family to do so, and it didn't work like that. So all in all, that and all the things is how I got to Wellness for the Culture, just seeing things, and I'm like, I need people to have the best. So the best education people, like educated people, not these people who come in from the town over. Yeah. To get I work in the lower income space so that I can get $10,000 off my loan. So that's, and then once they get their license or they get that $10,000 off their loan, they don't know the community, then they go build their practice next door. We know that. Seen that. And I even was told, well, why do you want to have your practice there? Yeah. Like, you're not going to make any money. Legit said that to me. Wow. And I lost my mind. That was a different Whitney.
I mean, understandable though. Yeah.
So
the things people say.
Wellness for the Culture, though, I'll say this is a staple in my hometown.
That's awesome.
And I'm proud about it because I built it out of what I thought we needed. Now there's conversations of healing all over the place in whatever ways it looks like. I just want us to heal. I'm not saying I launched it. There were plenty beautiful counselors doing their thing before I got there, but I just needed something that I didn't see, and I went to go be what I didn't have. So that's the difference.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of things come about, is when you see something that is lacking, or you want something that you don't see, and then it's like, okay, nobody else is doing this,
so I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of things develop, and I think that's great. So who do you serve? Like, a particular, is it families? Is it adolescents? Is it everybody?
It's everybody. We see everyone. Everybody has their niche. And it's not always all the same type of niche. My niche is the let's paint it out. The strong, Black, independent, high-achieving, successful woman who then shuts the door and doesn't know who she is.
There's a lot of us out there.
Oh, yeah. See, us. You said us? Because it's us.
Oh, it is. Yes, which is why why I got my therapist.
And to the outside.
Because we do all the things, and then we forget to do, like, when like you said, when you close that door, it's like, man, okay, what am I really doing? What's really, like, then
who
all
am
that,
I really?
Right. Yep.
And am I just this, or you have done and you have these qualities, but society has told you can't do anything else or more, or you don't know that there's more for you. Yeah. And it doesn't have to always be more, right? It could be more. Right. And so whatever that looks like, and sometimes I'm helping people with relationships. Sometimes I'm helping people just lift their head up. 2 inches taller. Ask for the raise, or start the business, or demand autonomy and equity in the spaces that you're in, or like, it could be anything. But it is, you're dope. Do you know that? And then they're like, I am dope.
Just need somebody, like you said,
that validation. Just need somebody to tell me I'm dope, and then they start doing this real quick.
Get that
check. And that's what I love. So I love working with those types of women who are like ready to, like, I'm almost there, but I just need someone to pass me the baton so I can run. Not that I don't have every and all. I take all, but I find that the people who find me are there. Also, probably the representation piece, right? And then God's funny joke of making me deal with me.
Gotta love it.
Right? So my clinicians, they see their pool comes. There's kids, teenagers, couples. We were talking about a fun couple today in our team meeting, and I was cracking up because I cannot do couples.
Okay.
Because I'd be like, you gonna let them talk?
Oh man. That's funny.
This is my office. Shut it. No. So
that's real though.
Yeah, I know. And I can't. I just be like, I need to deal with one person. Even if I have to see them separately, that's just me. I need one human so I can go back and peel layers and do all the stuff.
Yeah.
But there's someone who loves couples. There's a person in my practice who does marriage. And so tons of things, all the things. Then we also have like a challenge. So like we're not stagnant and only and growing, because I the way I learned was to not just see one group of people or demographic challenging, to see who I would actually be okay with, because sometimes we're scared when we start. And we're like, oh, I could just work with children because I wouldn't have any problems. Or I just want to work with women because, whatever. Or, I was mortified to work with women that were older than me for a long time, because I was like, they're going to see right through me.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna think that like I don't know anything, and what can I tell them? And then now I got these older women, and they're like, girl, you telling us stuff we couldn't even learn in our time. Yeah. Because the leaps and bounds you all take.
Right.
I said I had a group of women, a therapeutic group before, and the 50-year-old woman was looking at the 24-year-old woman like, you said what to your boss?
Well, I mean, and this because it was a different era, different time, and then they did the stuff that their mom or their dad taught them. So it's.
And she said, "You said what?" And she said, "I said what I said."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not in my job description.
I love that dynamic, though.
And you're going to have to pay me for my time. My job is executed well. Yeah. I do what I do and I'm paid for, and I do it in the time frame I'm supposed to do it. If you would like me to do anything else in my time frame,
there it is.
You will have to compensate me for that time. Just because it's in my 40 hours, you don't penalize me because I'm effectively or efficiently. You can give me another job. Yeah, or that. Make a choice. There. So, and she just kind of,
Who knew? Who knew you could do that?
So it's a beautiful thing to learn across the generations, and to just give permission. But there's a beautiful resilience and grit, and I say resilience in a different way than that oversaturated oppression way. To the older Black women who had to hold it down so that we could get to the audacity to tell our bosses. Okay.
Yeah, that's real. So you broke down wellness for the culture.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about empowering women. You hinted at permission, so you want to dive into. I heard it. That's your word.
I love permission. And I created permission in that 2020 when all these amazing Black women came to me after the George Floyd. And what happened was all these women in these higher up spaces, predominantly white spaces, were having to show up mentally like this while the world was on fire.
That was a rough season.
And nobody would talk about it. And then all of a sudden they were wanting to talk about it but not talk about it. And then there was all these different hirings and things. And it was just chaotic for Black women in that moment, because we were like, what are we doing? How do we show up? And so I held a group called Holding Space. And it was just holding space for us. But it wasn't just I'm coming here to talk about. It was I'm here. And then I started noticing the trend. And I said, and you let them say what? You did, huh? I said, why you do that? And it initially became like, when did you start believing that? When did you start thinking that way? Yeah. What led you to that thought process, and who told you couldn't? Yeah. And so I started challenging them in their belief systems, because I said, ain't no way you believe that. Okay. Then we moved into like, okay, but then once you start challenging, they get sad. Yeah. I lived my whole life with this belief system, and I could have had more. Yep. That doesn't sit right, and you start regretting, and you start staying there too long, and then so we gonna forgive ourselves, and then I got to this like, now what you gonna do with it? What we finna do? Because I'm let's give them a little razzle dazzle now, right? Like, we done figured out who we are. Yeah, we done changed our minds. Yeah. So what we finna do with it? And I seen them flourish.
Wow.
Okay, flourish. At one point, one of the girls, she was making more than me. She was 22, and I ain't like that.
Man, yeah, that's yeah. That's a pill to swallow there.
I ain't like that. Okay. The girl, there was quitting their jobs. They was going to get better. They was going to find what suited them and fulfilled them. They were one of them makes another zero. Okay, the seventh zero.
That's man.
And I was just like, whew.
Lord, you see it. You've done it in others.
See, I seen you. I
seen you do it. I need you to come on this way.
Okay. And so I just watched it. I watched them move and shake and move, and I still have a few of them, and some of them I'm just watching from afar. Yeah. Watch them in all their greatness. And so permission, I realized that we don't give ourselves enough.
That's real.
And it doesn't and that it doesn't stop because we've hit something. I think, okay, so Black women, I can ask this question, right? Okay. You probably saw yourself up to a master's degree. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Some of us see ourselves graduating high school and woo, we made it. That was the expectation. Yeah. Some of us at a bachelor's and like we did it. Yeah. Some of us even was like, I'm gonna get a master's. Yeah. And depending on your home, right? Your lifestyle, your house. And then what though? Some of us saw, I thought I was going to be a briefcase carrying. I was going to be a lawyer. Okay. We was either going to be a lawyer. You was going to be a briefcase heel wearing, ready to go. I was going to have this office where I sat in an ambiance and nice folded my arm. You know? Sure. And so, like, these are, never noticing that a pandemic was going to smack right through it. Right. And then I was going to be looking at everybody on a computer screen. So, and there it is. And there it is. So, where we saw ourselves, and then can we... do we have vision for beyond it and what does it look like and how do we get there? And so that's the question I always ask. I make people have dream sessions. I inspire women. I love to call myself a muse. Like I love watching people dream and then I'm like, okay, now let's think practically. Now how are you going to get there? And then we could do this. Yeah. I love it. So I love it, and then we talk practical, and we get there, and then I'm with them for the ride, and then somewhere along the line they graduate, and then I get a little sad. What I love is when they're like, I got the job, and then they be like, and then I got this insurance, and I'm like, oh gosh, sorry. Yeah, that insurance, I don't take that insurance. No. Or they're like, and I'm moving. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have a license in that state. But it's so good. Right. And so like, but it's the graduation, and I think it's the hand holding, and they have been supported so well. And the therapeutic relationship is, the bond is so like secure. I have to then tell them, you can do it. Yeah. You've done it. I don't really do much. You have
done the thing.
How many hours in a week, and I only meet with you for one of them. I didn't do this. Yeah. You did this. Right. So I make sure I flip it back onto them. I make sure they do these gratitude moments with themselves and all the things. But yeah, permission granted is I want to do another group. I want to have another group of women who are like, pass me, like pass it to me, and I'm gonna go, and then lifting each other up and seeing what a room full of Black women can do. Okay, like
more than you think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you imagine?
Right? No, for real. Yeah, with all the diversity and all the different spaces we occupy. Just even, I know, like, we'll go to, like, a networking event or whatever, and I'll just see all these beautiful Black women. I'm like, oh, my gosh, we're everywhere. And I love it. I love to see it.
I do.
Yes. So is the group open? Can people get involved? Or
So the group, it would have started yesterday. Okay. What I believe is I moved. Okay. And I think what people love is to know who I am. So I think this is a really good start for people to see me, but I am going to open it again. Okay. I also think the timing is one, people, like I told you, they got to know who you are. Right.
That's where that relationship
a lot of people at home know who I am. Yeah. And they're the ride or dies. Yeah. But over here, and this is where my calling is so I got to meet people. But yes, I intend to fully continue with enrollment and setting up a new date for the start date so that I can get enough people in the room. I do one-on-ones all the time. Okay. Yeah. I want a room. full of people.
Yeah.
So it's still open enrollment, and I'm still taking the, interviews same way. It's still therapy. And so be prepared to do that work. It's not just coaching where I'm just going to get you to an amount. You're going to do the work because you need to sustain the increase.
Yeah.
You need to sustain it. You need to be ready for it. Do you know how many people don't know, like, the emotional baggage, like the emotional toll of even increased income? You don't know how to even, like, you live in a poverty mindset. People don't know that part either. Like, there's mindsets to certain things.
Yeah.
And if you live, like, if you exist in poverty, your whole brain, or lack, getting to that next step is not even something you can perceive.
Yeah.
And so there's the hard work behind it. You can make it all you want to. You can get there all you want to, but the sustainability is where I come in.
Yeah.
Can you keep it?
Yeah.
Can you live in abundance?
Yeah.
Not just the like having something,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a mentality.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. The sustainability. I think people forget that they want to come and get the workbook. They want to get all the tips and tools, and then it's just like, okay, but what are you doing with that? Like, what's the practical applications of that? You know. So I think that's good. Because I do want you to tell us, like, the website and how to get in touch with you and all that good stuff. But before we get to that part, is there anything else you want to mention about therapy, mental health, the process, permission granted, anything else you want to leave us with?
So I want to say this thing because I believe I was given it today for a reason. Okay. Specifically today, I want to have something to do later, right? And so I operate in and out of many hats, and I flow. I do what the Lord tells me to do. Yep. And so I have been working on a project for some months now, and I'm really excited about it. And it's for generational healing. Awesome. Just like all my calling is women in generational healing. And so I understand that a lot of my work is going to be geared towards that. And I have these rooms full of Black women filled, and we vibe, and it just it's like magic. It sparks and it sparks and it sparks. And then when I get off the phone, my emotions and my mood plummets. Okay. And it feels like this. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. Okay. I put all my effort into this meeting, and then how am I going to actually do it? How am I going to actually, what if I can't? What if it fails? What if it, and I mean, it's attack. I mean, it's like it jumped. It's like, and so, and I had this vision, right? Like if I was walking to school, and every time, like, I was excited to go to school, but every time I got to that corner, there's these bullies. Okay. And they about to beat me up, right? So, and I'm like, okay, I know eventually you understand that they're plotting. It's so something in the, like, these meetings are very important. Something that I'm birthing or creating is very important because I keep getting beat up and attacked after this. And I even wonder how many of us actually do that. Like, think about your thoughts after you have a beautiful something, and they go whoop. Just like
immediate critique.
Like, oh, did I do? Oh, maybe I. And it just, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I started thinking, and I thought about it, and I'm like, okay. He's like, at what point do you recognize that it's strategic and it's an attack, and what are you gonna do about it? That part. And so today I was like, okay, spin the block.
You ready?
Spin the block.
Yeah.
And it also helped that verdict was like, you're going to get through 3 days maybe of this. Like, you get full on Sunday, and then you get up to 3 days, and then you crawl into Sunday again. And I'm like, don't be calling me out. But I had this vision of, like, I'm getting the Vaseline in the brick at this point, because y'all got one more time. Right. You got one more time. And so I started praying over myself about the strategic, because I am called to a thing. Yeah. And this is the permission, right? I'm giving myself permission to do and think and be bold and like see things that I have never had before. But he don't like that.
Oh, no, of course not.
Okay? Yeah. And so they wait for me because you think you better than everybody, right? You eat that when you ever walked to school and you had your fresh pigtails and your and then somebody was like, you just think you better than everybody.
Right, and then
and it just, and then you start to diminish, and then you start to fall apart, and then you start to, and if you don't have someone who's always feeding and pushing you in, and it's just like, okay, so what you finna do? And my mother would say, go on and pick up a chair.
Okay.
They're gonna jump you. You grab the nearest thing coming and you knock them over their head. And so I have to be like that with the enemy at this point in life, because I understand that what I'm doing with these black women and their generational stuff and the curses that have been placed over us as a culture and everything else. If the work that I'm going to do is going to defeat that, if what we're coming to do is challenge, don't you think he's going to try to beat me up 100%. Every day? So like I had to. And so I said, go spin the block. Yeah. And so that's just me. Spin the block, go feed yourself. However you feed yourself, get poured into, however you pour into yourself. Be mindful that any negative thinking is also the lie. Yeah. And so I work with people, but I think that is important for everyone to know today. And so I was like, and obviously it's my oil in my Bible, but it's still in my hood terms, it's my Vaseline and my brick, okay? And so I done grew up, but you know what I'm saying.
No, for sure, And
so I think that is important, because we don't realize that what's in us is very important, and so we got to keep going. You have to push the child out. Does that make sense? You can't just keep it in there.
No, being able to recognize it, and then not just recognize it, but how do we fight for it? And having the tools to be able to fight for it.
We give up. Oh, well, I tried.
Yeah.
And you did.
Right.
Kudos. Now, what are we doing this time differently?
Right.
It's never a no. It is always a how. Or a pivot. I love pivot.
Pivot
My
is
second
real.
favorite word after permission is pivot.
Yeah, pivot is real. The reframing for that always takes me some time to process. Because you don't want to pivot. You want to do it how you thought it was, but then when you pivot, it's like, oh, that's even better.
It's not that bad.
Right. I'm like, oh, okay, I can work with that.
You learn things. It's information gathering. The last time, and you don't really start over. Yeah. It's actually, you get a cheat sheet, because you know what not to do this time, and you know what worked the last time. So the pivot is actually a step up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. So many gems. I love it. Okay, so tell us where to find you, how to get into contact, socials, all the good things.
All the good things.
Yes.
So there's wellnessfortheculture.com. That's all the things if you want to book me as a speaker, because you thought, I was passing out all the gems. And so I'm happy to. I would love to do that here. I do trainings on. So this is the Black Girl Magic, right? But then I don't play about the DE&I in the mental health, and so we're gonna get this together too, because I protect people. There's on there is my clinicians and all the training opportunities and things of that nature are all there. Some freebies, a couple of books. I got some merch, because Wellness for the Culture is dope.
Yes.
And like, who wouldn't want to wear that?
Right.
So there's that. And then I am Whitney Dodds is my handle on Instagram.
Yes.
And then there is Wellness for the Culture. So Wellness for the Culture is like the information, it's the educational pieces, it's all of that. And then I focus a lot on ministry a little bit more, and healing and collective generational, things of that nature on my personal page. So follow both. They're both aligned in alignment. Just different hats, because we can do it.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I mean, you just dropped so much stuff. I'm sitting there just processing the things that you said, so I love it. Okay. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Until next time, this is a great conversation with Good Convos with Whitney Charmaine, and we'll see you soon.